Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the 3-Gun Show, brought to you by Armalite. This is episode 143, and I'm your host, Dave Hartman. My guest this week is retired police officer, rifle builder at JP Enterprises, father to two amazing shooters in our sport, and a heavy influence to many that have come up shooting competition in Minnesota, Brian Payne. Before we get into the interview, a couple things. As always, I really appreciate you listening to this show. A lot of people don't know this, but this is my full-time gig. I'm a podcaster, full-time. To keep up the quality of interviews and the content that you have come to expect, I need your help. I have started a Patreon page for the show. What Patreon does is it allows you as an individual to support me as a creator directly without the need for an intermediary like a network or something like that. I'm dedicated to bringing you the weekly 3-Gun podcast, just like this one, on Wednesday, and that won't change. Match recons and bonus content will be available through Patreon exclusively for the first 90 days for supporters of the 3-Gun Show. After that 90 days, they'll show up in the normal feed if you can't support right now for any reason. But if you do choose to support the 3-Gun Show using Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/3gun show. That's Patreon. And a big thanks to the people that have already signed up in the last couple of days. That's so cool. Thank you. Now, second thing, I screwed up. I told a story on episode 142 that occurred at the 2016 Rockcastle 3-man 3-gun, and I completely messed up the facts, and I feel absolutely terrible about it. Thankfully, match director Brian Ray reached out to me and set the record straight. Here is the post that Brian made on the 3-Gun Show Facebook page. Last year's match, we stated at the shooters meeting that in the event of a DQ, the entire team is DQ'd. After John committed the act, we offered Nick and Matt the opportunity to continue shooting, but did not discuss the issue of scoring. Nick and Matt proceeded to win a stage as a team of two, and when it was brought to our attention how this skewed scores, we removed their scores from the match. Live as a team, die as a team. I think this is actually the words Brian Vaught used. We learn something every year. So, my sincere apologies to all the guys involved and to you, the listener, for screwing this one up and making it sound completely different. I pride myself on the 3-Gun Show being a positive and uplifting voice for the sport, so it is important to me to get things right. I've messed up facts in the past because, I'm human, but usually they're inconsequential, like, the distance of a target or, did we shoot 2 stages on one day instead of 3, something like that. But this one I felt had to be addressed and corrected because my story was so backward from what actually happened. So please accept my apology, and going forward, if, I'll probably mess up again, but if it's something major like this, I'll definitely let you know. And, hopefully it's few and far between. Now on to this week's show. The name Brian Payne has come up in many conversations that I've had with 3-gunners all across the country. Brian is very humble about his contribution, as you'll hear in this interview, but many of the people that you see at the top of the score sheet credit him as a major influence, and I was very fortunate to get some time to chat with him when I toured JP Enterprises. Show notes can be found at 3gunshow.com/episode 143. Now enjoy this one with Brian Payne. Brian, welcome to the 3-Gun Show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited to have you, Brian. I talked to a lot of 3-gunners all over the country, and when I was in Texas at the 3-Gun Nation Southwestern Regional, I got a squad with a bunch of dudes that were almost completely from Wisconsin and Minnesota, and your name came up quite a bit. So you're well known in the Minnesota 3-gun area, and I'm excited to share your story with my audience. So thanks for being here.
No, not a problem. I hope what you heard wasn't all bad.
There was one or two good things.
Good.
Well, Brian, let's. I really enjoy the journey, the story of like how things came to be. So let's take it all back and start with like your entry into practical shooting. But before we do that, why don't you give the audience an idea of who you are off the range?
Okay. I'm a father of 3 boys, 2 of which are very active in in different shooting competitions around the country. The third is a high school teacher and very influential with upcoming youngsters of the world, which is nice to see as well.
That's cool.
I work at JP Enterprises full time. I build rifles. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm just a rifle technician. It's kind of like putting big boy Legos together. I love it to death. I was a cop for 35 years. Loved that job as well. Couldn't wait to go to work every day. And that's probably pretty much it. Been married for 26 years to a woman that actually tolerates me. I don't know how she does it. I'm sure most of the people that shoot competitions can understand where I'm coming from. I tend to be somewhat goal-orientated and moderately self-driven, and at times that can really take personal time away from the family, and it takes a good support system to be able to keep you on track, so it really helps a lot.
Yeah, so, and you've had a long career in practical shooting, so that means like a lot of traveling for matches and everything,
Yep.
so definitely an understanding lady there.
Well, and the funny thing is that I didn't get started in it until I think I was 46 or 47 years old. I wasn't lucky enough to find out about this in my 20s when I could still run fast and
Right.
jump high. But it's been fun. It's really been an enjoyable trip, that's for sure.
So how did you get into practical shooting?
Well, as a law enforcement officer, I trained officers, spent a lot of my time on the range and that sort of thing, was very active in that part of the law enforcement profession. I was constantly searching for ways of increasing an officer's skill level, whether it be in ground fighting or shooting. And when some officers I knew personally started talking about this big match coming up in St. Cloud, that I should really go, you can learn a lot. And so I signed up for the 2006 DPMS Tri-Gun Challenge, which was the first match I've ever shot. I think it was 2006 anyway. And it was an experience like no other, of course.
Yeah.
Got hooked immediately. And it definitely gave me a lot of ammunition to carry over into the law enforcement training side to teach officers how good you can really be with weapons handling and shooting under stress and that sort of thing. So it was a lot of fun, that's for sure.
So what was it about that first match that that hooked you and made you think like, I want to do this more?
Randy Luth is a good friend of mine now. I didn't know him before, owner of DPMS Tri-Gun Challenge, and I didn't know at the time what a great thing he really had going with the DPMS Tri-Gun Challenge. Part of his mission was when the good shooters come and sign up for his match, rather than allowing them to be on a super squad,
Yeah.
he intentionally wanted them to be separated into separate squads and to mentor new people to the sport, help them out, be ambassadors basically. And I was lucky enough to be mentored by Benny Cooley, who is
Oh, wow.
the coolest guy on earth to
Yeah.
learn from.
It's pretty good mentor to have.
Very much so. And I think that kind of set the tone between Randy's thought process and the way Benny Cooley handled himself, really set the tone for what my ideas for three-gun should be surrounded or should be based upon, not so much going out and kicking butt and taking names as much as it is, we're all in this together, let's make it fun for everybody and make the sport grow. So
That's cool. And so that seems to be like a theme that you've put that back up a little bit. It's gone
Sorry
away.
about that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's gone away from your mouth. People won't be able to hear you.
Okay.
So that seems to be like a theme then that has run throughout your career, because there's guys that started just a couple of years ago that, you know, credit your mentorship in the game as getting them hooked into it.
Yeah, I like the idea. I number one, I'm very humbled by those comments. That pleases me immensely, because I don't quite see it that way, but I'm glad people appreciate the help. To me, it just seemed a common sense issue. We in Minnesota were trying to grow the sport, formed a group called Minnesota Three-Gun Group, which now puts on some pretty darn nice matches in the state. And the idea behind it wasn't so much increasing our skill level to be great as much as it was trying to get other people involved in the sport, getting the numbers up at the matches, so the ranges that we would go and put these matches on would welcome us and maybe make some money from it, and overall just make shooting sports grow in the state of Minnesota.
Sure. Well, so after you shot that first match at the DPMS Tri-Gun, what did you do from there?
Honestly, I panicked a little bit because the first match I shot was shooting heavy metal. Back then it was iron sights and pump shotgun and pistol, and I wound up getting 6th place, and there was probably 7 shooters for all I know. All I know is I really had a good time. But I panicked a little bit in the fact that the next match I went to was the USPSA Nationals out in Las Vegas. My wife and I flew out there, and that was a unique experience in and of itself because I've never flown before. So, and then flying with guns, no less, was kind of unique. Had a great time. But they were having shots out to 325 yards. And in that time, I'd never shot anything over 150 yards until the Tri-Gun, and the farthest they could go was 200 yards with iron sights. I was at the age where my vision was starting to get to the point where I couldn't see the front side of my pistol for the last 2 years. Now I was having trouble seeing the front side of the rifle.
Right.
Red dots were not in common use at that point in time. But the USPSA Nationals, and then after that, just kind of getting started with the local matches.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think you'd want to start with the local matches. I didn't even know we had local matches until after these two of the biggest matches in the country, and I was too stupid to fear anything. It's like it's not wasn't near as stressful as a bar fight or a high speed chase. So to me, this was all good, but. Learned a lot, met a lot of really nice people, and I think overall the people in 3-Gun are probably the part that has kept me involved for so many years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was the definitely the feel. So this is my first time shooting in Minnesota, was this weekend, and that's definitely the feel of the entire match. As we were hanging out like the very first day, we didn't know each other, and just a group of people hanging out in the tent city over there and having a good time.
And it's happened at pretty much every match that I've gone to with my sons and stuff. Pretty soon you sit outside, and basically I would start loading mags for the next day and maybe sit down and have a beer while I'm doing it. I didn't do anything with the guns at that point in time, just loading magazines and stuff. And people would stop and say hi, and then pretty soon there's 20 people just hanging out, and it was really enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is that sort of atmosphere. And then I've noticed that now that I'm traveling and going to matches, I see a lot of same people in a different part of the country. And now it becomes like a mini reunion every month. Now you're seeing your buddies when you're, thousands of miles away of where the last time you saw them.
Yep. And interesting part, too, the different matches you go to, I've always been a big fan of nothing against Minnesota shooters, so please don't take this wrong, but I've always been a big fan of squatting with people I've never met before. To me, that's a very enjoyable experience, especially down at the Rockcastle has always been a big place. Love going down there. Excellent facility, great matches, and meeting the new people down there. Brian Ray and Brian Vaught are good friends, very influential people in the 3-Gun community in the entire United States, and huge down in that area. To me, that's the fun part. Meet the new people, have a good time. And if you happen to get high enough on the prize table to win something kind of cool, that would be nice. But that's way icing on the cake, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me too. And I'm not at the level where I'm going to take away anything that's going to change my life. But I tell you what, so a couple of weeks ago, I was at Rockcastle, and Brian Ray and Brian Vaught put on a team match every year.
Okay.
And it's like a 1 day shoot, 50 teams, 3-man team. And I got the opportunity to go shoot with 2 guys I didn't even know. And that was a kick in the pants because, you're on a squad with a, ton of people because you're 10-person squad, 3-person teams, 30 people. And so there's all kinds of new faces and everything. And then trying to get to know my teammates of like how you shoot and stuff like that. It's a cool thing to be, like you said, on squads with people you don't know.
Yeah. And yet on the opposite end of the spectrum, the most enjoyable match I ever shot was 3-man 3-Gun in
Topton,
Virginia. Is that where that?
Maybe. I think it's Topton, Pennsylvania.
Dean DeTurk,
yes.
I think, puts that one on.
Yeah.
Had heard a lot about it. And Nathan and Tyler and I, my two sons and I, shot as a team. And oh my gosh, I've never done that before. I've always competed against them head to head.
Right.
Got spanked every time, pretty much. But but it was fun competing as a team. Whether you win or lose was inconsequential in my opinion, but that was very enjoyable. The 3-man stuff it is a unique experience for sure.
It's a kick in the pants.
Yes, it is.
And it has to be like a really gratifying experience to be able to shoot with your sons,
Well, and you watch, you watch them shoot, and then you try and do the same thing, and it doesn't quite work. But yeah, it truly is. You talk about influential people in your shooting career. They probably say that I'm influential to them, and I'm kind of the opposite. That I was along for the ride, and they made it a cool trip. That's for sure.
Yeah. So when did you get them into shooting 3-gun? Was it right away, or did they show any interest when you started traveling?
Tyler did. He was young enough to still be in high school or just out of high school when he started shooting with me. In fact, if I can delve into it a little bit, I actually put on a 3-gun match for my department, several local police departments, and area sheriff's departments. 57 deputies, if I remember correctly, or officers showed up at the range, and we set up a few courses of fire. Tyler, if I remember right, was 11. He'd never drawn from a holster, had never reloaded. My Glock 34 is what I let him use that day. He came to help me set up and just to watch, just because I think he was bored to death. And I asked him, I said, "You want to shoot this match?" And he didn't really show any fear. He was like, "Yeah, that sounds like fun." So I showed him how to draw the holster and how to reload the gun, and the shotgun he already knew how to do, and the rifle he already knew how to do. And at that age, at the end of the day, he placed third out of, and it's not that these guys were bad shooters. I mean, they were some amazingly gifted shooters. It's just that he had a natural skill set that had been already started to be refined just from playing with guns with me out on the range and stuff. So I knew then that he probably had a pretty bright future in the shooting competition if he chose to go that route. So
interesting. So what do you think it was about Tyler that was like a natural ability? Does your family have like a collective athletic background or anything?
Well, I was always into athletics when I was younger. Again, when I started shooting 3-gun at 48, I wasn't an athlete anymore. I like to think I was, but that part was gone for me. Nathan, you've met. If anyone has seen him, he's still in great physical shape.
Yeah.
Big guy that moves amazingly fast. Was very athletic, college athlete with scholarships and that sort of thing. Very good with guns. Tyler was extremely athletic, but he honestly was more interested in going out shooting than he was playing any sort of sports. He could have done anything he wanted to, and he kind of hung his hat on the competition shooting, and it took off soon thereafter. He wound up getting a job for Randy Luth at DPMS, and at one of the Tri-Gun challenges. I can't remember the year. At the end of the match, the AMU shooters were there, and they offered him a spot on the AMU shooting team, 3-gun team. Yeah, that was pretty special.
Yeah.
And it was, for a father, it was very special, but it was kind of unique in that the 3-gun shooting community in Minnesota, we were all parents, It was not just my son getting it. It was one of our Minnesota shooters getting the opportunity to do something very special. So it was pretty cool.
So then it seems like sort of validation for the community as a whole, right, of the work that all of you had put in.
It's a very good way of putting it. It wasn't just for me being validated as a father. It was everyone involved, including the wives of the shooters or the husbands of the wife who happened to be a shooter. We'd been together for so many years on so many weekends during the summer, during the winter. The coldest match we ever shot started at 27 below zero, and we kept warm with burning barrels. And you'd think, well, what idiot be doing that? I think there were 16, 17 shooters showed up, and you kind of shake your head. I'm sure there were better things to be doing that day, but it was a good time, So, and all those people as a community, a shooting community, we're very proud of what was accomplished. And I think there's been several other young men. I use Dakota Overland as an example. Amazing what someone can do with the right support system and the right training and that sort of thing. At an early age, they can start setting records that will take many years to be broken, I'm sure. So.
Yeah. And Tyler starting out at 11 and doing so well. I look at like the youngsters in the sport, and I envy them for having like 20 years to look out till their knees start to hurt.
Exactly. Or their back, or they can't get up like they used to.
You wake up with neck pain or something
Exactly.
like that. And so they have like that. And then you look at, guys like you, guys like Randy Luth, Mark Roth, guys are, obviously adults, fathers,
grandfathers,
and have, adult children. I was trying not to say old dude. Sorry about that. But
I take it with pride. I'm happy.
But it's still moving and shooting fast, right? And then you think of like, wow, Dakota's got 40 years in this game, or more. It's a lifetime thing and a lifetime that you can play. And when you think about like her ability now, and just think of what it's going to do with 20 years of experience, 30 years of experience under her belt.
Yeah. It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, good for her, good for the kids to get involved. But coming from a law enforcement perspective, seeing the number of accidental shootings that have taken place in families and the tragedies and that sort of thing, and then you go to the range and see these young kids and what they're capable of doing, running around with loading guns. Are you kidding me? That's highly dangerous. People die doing that.
Right.
Is the thought process. I trust those kids with that equipment as much as I do any adult out there. And sometimes I kind of wish we could get more kids involved in that. Maybe we wouldn't have so many children dying at the hands of accidental discharges and that sort of thing. Respect for the weapon, respect for the danger that's involved there, and yet still showing that they can have a good time and be as safe as anyone else out there is pretty special.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that children or young adults that grow up in that type of environment are maybe more mature or have more responsibility because of the power that they are exposed to earlier?
For me, I think it's a lot of it boils down to, and I'm not too far off from being a kid at heart. I still remember being a kid and the curiosity you have for everything in the world, and you fear nothing. Kids haven't changed a bit. Once they learn once they cure their curiosity of the weapons, their fear of the weapons, then it holds no special place in their life.
Becomes
it's just
a tool.
Exactly. It's a tool just like a chainsaw. You better be careful using it, or you could be injured or hurt somebody else. But for the most part, it's just another tool. It's not some special holier-than-thou item that, don't touch it, don't even look at it because you could be injured. They understand how it works. They understand how to take it apart, how to put it together, how to clean it. And at that point in time, it's just another tool in their life, and treat it with respect, and you'll be fine. So,
So let's take a step back to your boys. When did you get Nathan into shooting 3-gun as well? And have they ever had like a rivalry or anything? Because they're both playing at a pretty good level.
I will say, if there was a rivalry, it was probably can't wait to the point where I beat Dad.
Oh, really?
And that's my feeling anyway, because they were always, we'd go to, I didn't have the money. I didn't have the time to spend a lot of time on the range. So we did tons of dry fire, and Nathan can testify this because he's done dry fire with me more than anyone I can think of. It got to the point where I was asked by Arms and Arms, which is a great firearms company here in Minnesota in Eden Prairie. Middle of winter, would you want to come down and do a class of some sort, competition class? I drove through a blizzard with Nathan down to this Arms and Arms building to do a dry fire 3-gun class.
Really?
They wanted to know what I did for practice. So I thought, I'll go down there and show people, thinking it's a blizzard, it's cold. Snow plows were hardly even moving because there's so much snow. I thought, well, there'll be 4 or 5 people. Maybe we'll show up. 26 people showed up, and a month or so later, we did it again. There were 30 people that showed up.
Wow, that's crazy.
Just
for a dry fire class.
Just to learn how to dry fire. A lot of it had to do, they wanted to see Nathan load a shotgun because this was when the quad loading was just starting. And they knew Nathan he's pretty gifted at it, has worked very hard at it. and he can load amazingly fast. It's kind of fun to watch. So a lot of it had to do with that, but a lot of it too had to do with what do the Paynes do, because we've placed fairly high at the local matches for a while, and they want to learn what are we doing, because we're not going to the. Some people go out and spend 20, 30, 40,000 rounds a year in practice.
Oh yeah.
In 3 years, I don't think I shot 3,000 rounds, including matches, between all three guns. You know, so it was all dry fire stuff. So that it got to the point where the weapons handling became subconscious for us, and so they wanted to learn. Well, what are you guys doing that makes it so successful? Could it help us? So we put on a couple classes that way. But it was during that time that Nathan and Tyler had already left for the AMU when Nathan got really serious about it. And that's kind of, they never really had a rivalry between themselves. They encouraged each other, amazingly supportive. But it was always kind of in the back of their head, I think, oh, there, now I beat Dad. And once they beat me, then they were gone. It's not like I could work a little harder and catch them. They beat me and the dust got kicked up, and there was no stopping him then. So,
well, it's cool though. That's like probably what every father, every parent hopes for, is to give your children the tools to succeed, whether it's in 3-gun or in life in general, and then watch them, move past you and on to better things, right? Well,
and that's huge for me. I was always asked that question. I bet you feel terrible about that. Heck no, I was proud as all get out, and I wanted to make them work for it, but jeepers, they were. It didn't take a whole lot of watching them to see. Well, geez, they're, Nathan's 20 years younger and Tyler's almost 30 years younger. It's not going to take them too long before they'll catch me and surpass me, but they've done an amazingly good job. The shooting aspect I like, but what I like even more is how they conduct themselves on the range and conduct themselves in life. And they have the same attitude towards helping people. And the funny thing is, it doesn't just stick to 3-gun. Tyler now is into the PRS stuff a lot with the AMU. And he's never told me this, but I've read several different articles of people writing comments about matches. And I want to thank Tyler for borrowing me a rifle and ammunition when mine quit, and giving me helpful advice. And it's like, wow, that's what I get proud about. That's, as a parent, that's what you want the next generation to do, because that's what makes our sports better, our shooting sports better. And the shooting community stands out in an entirely different light, I think, for people. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It's awesome to be to bear witness and be part of that culture.
Yeah, very much.
You can think of like a ton of other sport cultures or anything that like, I don't want to be a part of that because those guys are a bunch of bums or whatever. But shooting sports like stands head and shoulders above anything I've ever participated in.
And I've seen so many instances of somebody who shoots a stage, and when they get done, they get a score sheet, and they're walking back, and they didn't mark down my miss.
Mm-hmm.
Some people in some sports be going, yes, I got away with one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Stop. And get a hold of the RO, go, you forgot to write this down. And it's not just me and my sons or just Minnesota shooters. I've heard this across the country, and some of the best shooters on the face of the earth have laid themselves wide open to ridicule maybe from other shooters by running up and saying, hey, you forgot to put this penalty that I earned on my scorecard. I need to have it there. It's not right that it's not.
I saw that just last year at Rocky Mountain in limited division, and the guy took second instead of first, or third instead of second, because of a penalty that he argued for himself, and the RO gave him.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you speak of Rocky Mountain 3-gun. One of the best 3-gun matches in the country, in my opinion. John from JP Enterprises is main sponsor. That's another match that was unique. When I first started, I was kind of taken, I would like to think, taken under the wing of a group of shooters. I'm sure I won't remember them all, but Benny Hill, Kurt and Eric Miller, Trapper Swanson, Ty Gentry, Daniel Ernest, these guys from down in Texas, helped me a lot in the first few matches. I watched them out at Rocky Mountain 3-Gun. I watched Benny Hill, who's a gunsmith, give away an STI pistol to a junior shooter. I watched Kurt Miller, who won TAC Optics that year, win a JP Enterprises rifle, and he walked up to another junior and said, "Here, this is for you." And Ty Gentry gave a shotgun, gave his personal shotgun away. It's like, oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
All in the interest of trying to keep juniors interested in the sport. And Rocky Mountain 3-Gun has always been huge about having juniors special awards and that sort of thing. Things like that is what makes the 3-gun shooting community so special, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
It's quite amazing. Well, Brian, I'm going to go back again here.
Okay.
My audience is like really interested in, how to get better. How do I get better? We have, how people get when they get into 3-gun.
Yep.
They're super eager. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, like, what did you teach in your dry fire class? Like, what did you do with your boys to get so good?
The best analogy I can make is this. Have you ever driven a manual transmission car?
Yes.
Remember the first few times you drove it, pushing the clutch, don't kill it, people are going to laugh, that sort of thing?
Yep.
2 months later, you drive to work, you don't remember shifting a gear, right?
No.
Same thing with guns on a course of fire. When that beep goes off, changes are going to occur. The stress level goes up, your brain switches gears. You can do so much better on a course of fire if your body handles all the minute details, how to draw a gun, how to handgun, how to reload the handgun, how to watch the front sight, how to dump that handgun safely, pick up a shotgun, rack it, that sort of thing. If all that is done subconsciously, you're going to be way faster than the person that goes, okay, now I have to run over and dump this handgun in the box, make sure it's on safe so I don't get a penalty. Pick up the shotgun, and I remember to rack it, that sort of thing.
Right.
You're going to waste so much time with your conscious mind trying to remember all these things, you won't get a chance to run the course of fire to the best of your ability. You watch the really good shooters, they spend a lot of time on weapons handling, fundamentals. And I personally think if you have the fundamental skills to shoot a handgun well, you can shoot a rifle and shotgun well for the most part because the fundamentals generally apply across the board when it comes to weapons with trigger control and that sort of thing. Excuse me. So the weapons handling skills we would do would be running drills of shotgun reloads with dummy rounds. Set that down or even have a dump barrel there like you would see at a match. Dump it, draw your handgun, rack it if that's what the course of fire calls for, charge the weapon. These are all unloaded guns or using dummy ammunition. You can do that in the comfort of your home while you're watching the Minnesota Vikings beat the snot out of the Green Bay Packers, which would be really cool. But you can do that watching TV. But there's a caveat to it. You're dealing with guns. Guns are dangerous. So I caution everyone, when you go into your dry fire room, there's no ammunition in there at all. No, even in spare magazines or anything, because the worst thing in the world to have happen would be to have anyone get injured doing this. But dry fire drills done properly, you can learn so much and get enough repetitions in doing the gun handling skills that it becomes much like driving a manual transmission car. Those things are taken care of and you don't even think about them anymore. It leaves your mind conscious enough to run the course of fire the way your planning has done. If you've done walkthroughs, you have a plan. You want to follow that plan to a T. If you forget to do a shotgun reload or if you have a malfunction of some sort, and that can all be taken care of with your subconscious mind so you don't have to concentrate on it, it's huge. So that's the basic gist of the dry fire drills and the classes. I'd give them drills just to work on and then give them some drills for malfunctions you may run into. And it was all just kind of fun. So.
Yeah. Well, the manual transmission thing's a perfect analogy. Unfortunately, in like 10 years, no one's going to understand it.
Probably.
But when you think about it, manual transmission, working the clutch, working the gearbox is like working all the controls on your rifle or your shotgun.
Exactly.
And then navigating a course of fire is like driving to a destination. So you don't have to think about, okay, now I shift into second. You just do it.
Exactly.
And then now you can concentrate on making the turns, watching for other traffic, making sure you don't hit a motorcyclist, that sort of thing.
And that's how my mind works it anyway. Other people, they're probably looking at it going, that man's an idiot. But I will say it has worked. It's worked very well for Nathan and for Tyler and for myself. Now that I'm rapidly approaching 60, I don't run as fast, jump as high, and see as far. I understand that. In fact, I've even started to get more involved in the PRS style matches. And they're fun too. And surprisingly enough, boy, what a great group of people.
Oh, good.
And what do I do at home now? I do dry fire drills off of the back of my chair and underneath the chair legs to get into these unusual positions that you're going to run into at matches. So now my wife really thinks I'm crazy because I'm doing it with 3 guns and a precision gun, and she just shakes her head and walks the other side of the house, and doesn't quite. She understands and she's supportive, but she just kind of giggles and walks away, thinks I'm an old guy playing young
playing Army
games. Yep. So.
Well, that's pretty cool. So when how did the dry fire for PRS differ? Is it all positional type stuff? Do you still manipulate the trigger and everything?
I do a lot, actually, on smaller targets. There's even dry fire kits that you can buy. A gentleman from here in Minnesota, Troy Tyson is his name, does something eye doctor of some sort, and he invented this where it's special scope caps you put on the front and rear cover of your scope, and all of a sudden you can put a target 10 feet away, and it makes it look like it's 300 yards away through your scope. It's really unique. And when you move the scope off target because of the unusual body positioning or breathing or pulling the trigger too hard from one side or the other, it shows up. So it allows you to, at least during the middle of winter, you can still get out there and do some practice and not fire around. Doesn't cost a penny. It just takes up some of your personal time. So
yeah, interesting. You were talking about winter, so I spent the last 6 months in Texas, and for the winter, and man, I was really surprised. Not many people down there that I talked to dry fire, and it's because they can shoot any time of year. We shot a local club match in January, and it was too hot to wear pants.
Yeah. I would have hated to see never mind. I just had a flashlight picture in my mind of what.
Me running around my skivvies?
Yeah. Anyway, everyone running around. But it's kind of unique. I look at some of the major matches in the country, 3-Gun Nation, etc. And there's some Minnesota shooters, when those boys and girls show up, they do quite well.
Absolutely.
And how do we do that when we have 3 months of shooting out of the year and the rest is basically downtime?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with up here, when we do get a chance to practice, it's 100% maximum effort practice, or there's lots of dry fire. And I still say there's something to dry fire. And Nathan and I had a bit of an argument for a while. I told him he had gotten to the point that dry fire wasn't enough. He needed to get ammunition. He needed to get out to the range. He needed to go to more matches and get the actual match shooting experience. This last weekend here, the match we had here in Forest Lake, is the first time I've seen him really start to open it up. And I hate to tell people this, but he's just starting. I mean, he really is.
Really?
I've seen him in practice, and I shake my head and like, oh my gosh, he's going to tear stuff up. He really is.
That's great.
A few more matches under his belt. He doesn't have near as much match experience as let's say, Tyler in the AMU, or Jake Ladala here in the state of Minnesota, who's gone to a lot of major matches. Nathan's just getting into that now. So I think it's something where they kind of, him and Jake especially, feed off of each other, good friends, train together periodically, do a real good job, and they don't get a chance to train as much as I'm sure people down in Texas do, and yet they can go down there and hold their own with pretty much anybody. So something, if it's in the water up here or what, I don't know what it is, but we're doing all right, even though the weather isn't quite as shooter-friendly as some other parts of the country. So.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, I coming from Colorado, we had an off season too, and I feel like it's there's definitely something to dry fire, absolutely. And then everyone has a budget, right?
Exactly.
Especially when you have a family, and then maybe you're trying to get 2 boys into shooting as well, and dry fire is that avenue to practice without having to spend thousands of dollars and maybe mortgage the house and
exactly. But overall, I can't be more proud of my sons, number one. Can't be more proud of the Minnesota shooting community as a whole. I would like to think that I had a little something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I sure don't think I had what some of the people are saying. If they feel that way, I'm happy. But whatever was done wasn't done for personal gain. For any of us here in Minnesota, we do this for fun, and we want other people to have a good time. We want them to be safe, want them to do well, and kind of do whatever we can. And quite honestly, I've seen it in every corner of the nation that I've gone to major matches. The exact same personality profiles are there, and
Sure.
I think that's what makes the shooting sport so successful, number one, and so enjoyable to hang out with, number two.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I've repeated on the show multiple times, like 3-gun is definitely regional, but you run into a lot of the same characters in a lot of the same places, and everyone seems to have like a mind on growing the sport and making this better and more accessible to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had the ability and the good fortune to see something grow from something very small in Minnesota to now there's I'm told matches like couple times a week, USPSA. I just shot a local 3-gun match last night, like 3 days after the Tri-Gun, which is ridiculous. And then, there's so many opportunities for shooting around, especially in the area that we're in right now, which is the Minneapolis area. So where do you see like Minnesota 3-gun headed? If you had your roadmap, where would you want to take it?
I think the guys that are running Minnesota 3-gun group, I'm not really a part of that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant 3-gun in Minnesota.
Oh, 3-gun in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Same basic principle.
Okay.
It's always seemed to be, whether it be new people stepping up to help or people who've been in there for years putting on the matches, keeping an open mind and seeing where the shooting community, what direction they're going, whether it be real shotgun heavy intense or real long-range rifle heavy intense, or we're going to do more handgun, that sort of thing. Each area of the country almost seems to have its own identity.
Yes.
I feel right now Minnesota is probably best known for the shotgunners because we do a lot of shotgun, because most of our matches have short ranges and we can shoot shotgun anywhere up here,
right.
But rifle and pistol is more of a challenge. I would like to be able to see more ranges open up their arms to 3-gun coming to their venue. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit of a challenge anywhere, I'm sure, when they're used to shooting high power or trap only. I have to admit, if somebody who'd never seen 3-gun came up and watched a 3-gun stage, they'd think we're not right in the head.
Oh, yeah.
Running around with guns.
Well, and yet how close we all stand to each other.
If they would sit and just watch, though, and see how safe this sport actually is, I think they'd be flabbergasted for the most part. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge we're facing now, is getting ranges that would open their arms to competition shooting. And once they do and see how safe it is and the people see how enjoyable it is, it's going to be just like what it was here in Minnesota. We'd hold a match that had 15, 16 people. Literally 3-4 months later, we were getting 80 and 90 people in the matches because all these people heard about it and they wanted to come out. When they left with a feeling of these people didn't shun us. Mm-hmm. They welcomed us into their living room, basically, and showed us how these matches work. If you don't have gear, show up anyway. We'll borrow gear to you. If you want to come to your first match and watch, that's fine, but you're going to regret it. You're going to be thinking, I wish I would have brought my guns. So bring them along and leave them in the trunk of your car. For the first one, if you want to. You might surprise yourself and be running for your car soon after you get there, because you're going to see that it's not about who wins and loses. It's about how much fun you can have with a group of people that are like-minded, and it's a fun day. It really is. So
definitely, and the camaraderie is like second to none.
Very much so.
Yeah. What is some of the best advice that you've received in 3-gun?
One of the best things I've ever heard is when Benny Hill, I came up to him after a stage shaking my head going, I'm faster than that. I'm faster than that. And he goes, really? Let me see your scorecard. He looks at it and goes, No, you're not. It's kind of a humble pie slap in the face sort of thing. But his meaning was very simple. It'll come when it comes. You know, the score, no matter how much you practice, how much money you spend on equipment and ammo and that sort of thing, your scorecard is a telling tale, because in reality, the person you're competing with is you, and that's
Right.
it. That's really what it boils down to. If you do better than somebody else, then it's a friendly banter, but for the most part, it's about you. I think every time you get up to a course of fire, your honor's at stake. If you do something and nobody else catches it, but you know you did something that in your opinion wasn't right, or maybe unsafe or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you own up and go, hey, you guys didn't catch me, but I pointed my gun in a direction that I feel is not unsafe, so I'm backing out of this right now, and then I'm going to stick around and help score and help reset and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Second thing that I learned was from Tyler, and that was in a PRS class he was teaching. Don't chase the new shiny. It's a big thing. I see people, this new shotgun's out now. That's got to be that. I have 2 pump shotguns, 2 semi-automatic shotguns, and a AR-style shotgun for shooting open division sitting in my closet at home loaded with buckshot for home defense, and that's it. I don't even use them anymore because there's something new that keeps coming out, and you just got to get your hands on it. That's not going to make you a better shooter, honestly. Upgrading weapons, I shouldn't say it's not going to make you a better shooter. What's going to make you a better shooter is practice and effort, putting some work into it. Buying something new constantly may make you feel like you're going to go places now, but quite honestly, it's take what you've got, take it out, practice with it. When you've reached the point where that weapon platform is slowing you down because you're truly starting to outrun it, then it's time to upgrade. And I wish I would have heeded my own advice, because there's a lot of money wasted in equipment, whether it be loading devices or guns or special holsters, or it is what it is. Human nature, we like to see the new stuff and think that's going to make a big difference, and it would probably help. I'm sure it is.
Sure.
I've always been a big fan of an advantage, even if it's only perceived, is still an advantage, because in your mind it's making me better. That confidence level increases, and chances are your scores are going to see a difference. But
yeah, Patrick Kelly told me that. He's like, if it makes you feel like you're going to shoot better, you're going to shoot better, because now in your mind you're shooting better.
correct.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Like I've gone that same path, fortunately, as far as like upgrading gear. Is if I can't like justify like this is holding me back, and so far I've pretty much pointed to like, nope, still my skills. So until you need to make that change, then probably hang on to what you're doing.
Then one more thing. Don't be afraid to listen to your spouse. I've done these dry fire drills for years in my house. I don't think my wife even pays attention anymore. Tim Ubel from TACCOM sent me a device that he called a quad load. I didn't know what it was. When I first grabbed it, I thought, that's the dumbest looking thing I ever seen. I understood right away what needed to be, how to use it. I put it on my belt, practiced some loads, and then practiced my normal weekend load. I did it for about a half hour, and I was going to take it off and send it back to Tim and go, I don't see a need for it. My wife happens to holler from the other room, you're way faster with that new thing you put on your belt. And I kind of thought, well, that's kind of odd that she even saw it, number one. And number two, how does she keep time? But she goes, no, you just look way faster, where I felt way slower. Right. So I put a part time up, and sure enough, I was beating the time. Nathan lives 17 miles away. I dialed him up on the phone and said, Nathan, I got to show you something. You're going to love this. He goes, Dad, it can't be faster. Nothing's faster than... We kind of get locked into, this is what I do, and nothing's going to make me go faster. And all of a sudden, some new technology comes out. And sometimes it takes an unjaundiced eye to watch you and go, that really did make you get better. I went down, showed Nathan, and lo and behold, he's loading 12 rounds in 3 seconds in very short order. They work. There's a lot of equipment out there that can make you better. So I don't mean to imply otherwise, but sometimes it's hard for us to see it because we think we're about as good as we're going to get already. Personal pride, man pride is what I call it. And sometimes it takes somebody to look at you and go, you might want to try that because I see a difference. So
I like it. Well, Brian, we're running up on our.
Sorry about that.
No. We're running up our time in the office here. So, give the audience one last thought or piece of advice. Anything that you want to leave the 3-gun world with.
Probably the best. Don't be afraid to go to a major match. I think that's the biggest thing I hear people talk about. I really want to shoot that match, but I don't know if I'm good enough.
I need to get better.
There is no good enough. There is no too good. Go have fun. You know, I'm obviously at the very twilight of my 3-gun career. I had a blast. I wouldn't change a thing from beginning to end. But just don't be afraid to go out and see something new, because the people are great. The community is awesome. The matches, whether it be Rocky Mountain 3-gun, which has the most picturesque vistas you'll ever see in a course of fire, to Forest Lake Sportsman Club, where it has a whole bunch of really cool, down-to-earth men and women putting up matches that you shake your head and go, I never would have even thought that you could do that here. And then we giggle like little girls. So go out and have a good time. That's what it's all about.
I love it. Well, Brian, I really appreciate your time.
No problem.
And thank you for sharing your story and the story of how you grew up and brought your boys up in 3-gun in Minnesota. Thank you very much for all the fun we had this weekend. It was a great time, and thanks for being on the show, man.
All right, cool.
Hey, before you take off, check out the show notes at 3gunshow.com/episode 143 for links to things that we discussed in this podcast, and to sign up for Patreon, or to purchase your own 3-Gun Show logo tee. And big news, ladies' tees are now available at long last. A big thanks to all the people at JP Enterprises for the tour and for their hospitality, which made this interview possible. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Armalite. Armalite likes the community that we are building here at the 3-Gun Show, and we have partnered up for 2017 to be sure that it is a win for you as well. Armalite has allowed me to get special pricing for listeners on their line of 3-gun rifles, both the 13.5 and the 18-inch, as well as their competition handguards, gas blocks, and tunable muzzle brakes. I've been shooting their 13.5-inch rifle myself, and I'm totally digging it. If you were interested in a 13.5-inch rifle but were kind of on the fence for whatever reason, I say go for it. Thumbs up from Dave. If you are in the market for a rifle or components to build your own, email me, dave@3gunshow.com, and I will hook you up. I'm back on the road now, traveling the country and bringing the good times back to you in podcast form, just like in this one here. Like I was in Minnesota and we got this cool interview. I'll have all this Armalite gear with me at matches for you to check out, so when you see me at a match, just ask and I'll be happy to show you. You can even shoot mine if you like. Quick reminder that if you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcast content so you will always get the very latest. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.